I feel like I guess the only person of my kind, like I'm my own kind, I really don't. I know plenty of people will say they don't fit in at all, but like through elementary school, middle school, high school, even a little bit in college, starting now, I've just been like hopping between different groups of people, different friend groups, and part of it has to do with like the phases that I go through and in general just like how I grow as a person, I guess, but like I look at the people around me and a lot of them don't change. Like they even if they do it's minor, it's like they still have this thing that like one or two things that they're interested in that they make like their whole personality, I guess. Um, it may be a sport, it might be some type of art, theater. Um, I've always appreciated the people who like are into a lot of different things. Like I really liked the people in like some of the people in my old theater group that um I haven't really seen any of them in a couple years, but they like they like had I guess this friend group by themselves, but like they weren't your typical like they didn't fit like the typical theater kid mold. They weren't like very outgoing. Well, some of them were, but like not all of them were very outgoing. They kind of like let it all happen on stage. Um, a lot of straight cis people, not a lot of queer people, which you normally see in theater. Don't ask me why. I don't know enough about queer culture, and I guess like that's another thing where it's like I don't fit in with stuff I that I'm interested in because like I yeah, I'm like I I am part of the queer community, but like that's not my whole thing. Like that's only a small part of me, and I don't fit a lot of the stereotypes. I'm not like super into anime. I don't want to dye my hair. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. Um, I'm not like I don't know if this is um a stereotype, but like I'm not really into art. Um, really the only thing that I did that would be considered like stereotypically queer is theater. And I even though I did it for like 5 years, I never touched it in my school. Um, because I just there's a level of vulnerability when it comes to theater. And I just was not comfortable showcasing that. Um, in front of like a school full of people I didn't really care about, didn't really trust. They all felt like fake to me. Um, so there's that, but like also just the idea that I'm interested in a lot of different things. You can clearly see, on this channel, my uploads are inconsistent. Um, it's been like 2 years almost since yeah, 2 years since I started this. I know you can't really find anything from back in April 2024, but because I at the time they were like unlisted the videos, but I don't know. I I'm into like a lot of different things, and I felt a lot of pressure to uh find a specific thing and focus on it, and then I realized I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I'd be happy doing that. Um, Part of me wonders if like I have a little bit of ADHD in me. Um, just because of that. Like, for example, I've probably done music stuff the most on this channel. Um, but it's been like a variety of different video lengths, different genres, and that's another thing. Like, I appreciate the people with like varied music tastes and just like something you would not expect. Like, another thing, I'm queer. I don't this is probably the most you'll hear me talk about it unless it's like a video about being trans and stuff. But I don't have like a bunch of musicals in my playlists. I have a playlist full of like pretty much everything. And I guess I go through like different phases. Um, Similar like with my interests and stuff, but I have like almost everything you can think of. I don't really have any classical music. I don't like classical music. I don't have actually no, I do have a little bit of country, not too much. But it can be um like right now I listen to a lot of punk rock. Maybe it's like the rebellious nature of me coming out. Um you might have seen my reggae video. I don't know anyone who likes that kind of music, but I was into it for a little while, but like not as much anymore, but like the idea that um I maybe it's the underrated aspect of it, the fact that you don't see anybody interested in like reggae music, for example. Um Maybe because it's not like terribly popular in the US, but also you don't meet anybody who like listens to it really. Um, so if I ever come across that person, I'm gonna have like a lot of respect for them. Um, like I have a trans femme friend who tried to get me into hyperpop, and I just cannot get it. Like I probably have one underscore song on my playlist, and that's it. Um, and yeah, so punk rock, reggae. Um, I definitely like disco. Um, Smooth R&B can be nice. Like old Earth, Wind and Fire. Marvin Gaye, that kind of thing. Um, I like. I do like some older styles. I guess I'm more leaning towards that when I list everything out. But like every time if I did this each day, if I listed out music genres that I listen to, I would probably gravitate towards something different each time I did it. Right now, it's the older stuff. Like I like doo-wop. I don't think I have enough of it in my playlist. Um, I probably have too much electronic in my playlist just because I appreciate a lot of like the subgenres, like the happiness of tropical house, the the nostalgia aspects of like old NCS of like 2014 and no copyright sound stuff. Um that kind of thing. Um I really don't know. Um I know people with like different music tastes, but like usually they settle on few genres. And like even though I may hyperfixate on a specific genre, like I can never only listen to that. Um like just today I probably listened to my reggae playlist for like 30 minutes. Just because I didn't feel like shuffling my big playlist and that kind of thing. But and I was like, oh, I haven't listened to this in a while. I want to do that. Um, so and I liked that experience, but it's the little things, but also like socially, it's tough because I I don't have any like although actually I can't say I don't have any hobbies. For a while I couldn't. I had like a lot of trouble when people asked me my interests. Um, of course, like one of the only consistent things in my life has been gaming. Um, what kind of game is going to depend on the year or even the month. Um, but like the past 2 years, probably it's been a lot of sports games, and um, honestly, I don't know a lot of people who like pretty much only play that. Um, and I don't know. I guess the only exception would be like Marvel Rivals, but I'm not even good at the game. I'm not good at like a lot of games, but I play that game a little bit. But so there's gaming. Um, if you want to like get really specific, do I have? I might have speedrun videos on my channel at some point. I don't know. Or maybe some like older stuff from like 2024. I might have made some. Um, but when I did a lot of my runs, I didn't record them, so there's that. Um, also the fact that again, like my interests change. Like I was very into like writing at some point. Um, I guess I still am, but the kind varies a lot. I went from wanting to write a romance novel from late 2023 to mid 2024 to now I want to go more like nonfiction critical um not like a critical, not really like essay, but analysis of a specific thing in society, but like with a more philosophical lens, because I have um over the past like 6 months I've gotten into philosophy. Um and I'm right now I would say I am like embracing my inner Karl Marx, where it's just like I'm not really like I'm very much like, the like I'm definitely against like the capitalist system. I don't like the inequality, but also I apply that to like an education level. Um if I ever like specialized in philosophy, I would go into like philosophy of education. Probably, though it would be hard to pick like a specific thing because I did just have my ex-Christian hyperfixation like last year, but whatever. Um, so there's that. Um, and I guess like right now I'm writing an entire what I hope to be an entire book on just the things I've noticed about the school system and like how plenty of it is concerning. Um, that'll be for like its own thing, but you don't see a lot of people who well, you don't see a lot of people who are in college and actively like oppose the system. I'll probably make a video on like explaining the apparent hypocrisy between not liking the education system but also still paying or still going to college. And there are a number of reasons for that I'm going to explain probably in a future video. I I guess I don't know. It's just like I've tried being in almost every like a lot of different friend groups. Like I don't even know if I had a group to start elementary school. It was tough because I was bullied a lot. Then it kind of manifested in a different form where it was like instead of just making it clear that somebody didn't like me, that somebody found a particular part of me annoying or um that kind of thing. They were like I see this as like including or like including somebody only to like entertain yourself, if that makes sense. Like you don't actually like being around the person for who they are. You just like being around them because you feel some sort of like moral superiority, I guess. I don't know. Um and this happened a lot of times when I tried to like be one of the popular boys. Um and I every time I did it, it was definitely fake. I could tell it was fake. I just didn't want to like admit it that that was not really me. Um, my tone of voice, my the way I word things, the my um, even just like what I tell people, that just like shifted when I was in that mindset of like trying to conform to being popular and like um like for example, I couldn't towards the end of it, like I didn't dare tell anybody, I wanted to write a romance book or what is it? Try not really able to find like a lot of good examples, but I couldn't really couldn't I kind of like closed off part of myself, like the musical part of myself, for example. Um I closed that part off to people to try to make myself seem better, and I can see why I did it. Of course, looking back, I don't know what I wish I did because the last couple years of high school were pretty lonely. Um, it's probably healthier for me to have no friends than fake friends, but also it's nice having like a lot of people to, like, even if you're not close to them, like it felt nice having a lot of people, like being around a lot of people at times. Not as much anymore, but the the last couple of years, I would eat lunch alone, and I hated it. I hated being um I hated being alone because like I'm in the middle of introvert and extrovert. Like I can't go a time without social interaction. Um, but also like even in college now, I find myself sitting alone a lot of the time, and like meanwhile other people are like making plans to go to the dining hall and walk with their friends who may not even live in the same building as them. Um, and they make it work, I guess. Um, I don't know. I like the idea of making plans to like um go to an event together, like eat together, but people usually say no to that kind of stuff, or they're like hesitant about it. Um, but I always feel terrible when like I see people sitting alone because I know what that feels like. And to me, it's not that good. Like, I know some people, you know, more introverted than I am, are going to prefer that. And if that's the case, I'm um, not gonna like pressure people to like hang out with me. And um, also, I just like find myself hanging out with a lot of different people. Um, um, I don't really know how I would describe the people that I'm friends with now. I'm not friends with too many people. Um, I have one friend I met through a class. I'd say, yeah, I'm friends with my roommate. Um, but I'm gonna have a single dorm next year, which helps. So um, there's gonna be a lot more time for me to make these. Um, I'll have the space. I'll have a lot less anxiety towards it. Um, and yeah, like I said, you can't really put like the people I am friends with now, even though there aren't too many of them, into a specific category because I play basketball. Um, and like some of my teammates I'm closer with than others, but also like we bond over one thing, but we all have very different interests, which is nice. Like we all have a lot of us have different majors. Um, I know somebody who wants to be a middle school social studies teacher. I have a lot of respect for that because I I could never, and a lot of teachers I or a lot of like education majors I know are like elementary. Um yeah, so stuff like that, but I've also had trouble fitting in with like the um not super popular people. Um and it's usually because of niche interests or I don't fit the stereotype. Um um the stereotype like being queer stereotypes like anime, tabletop games. I I really don't know what else. I I'm blanking at the moment, but like theater. Well, theater kind of, but like um, well, like many of these things, like I haven't been able to fit in with because I haven't been able to fit in with these people because I don't have these same interests as them. And like, yeah, we can bond over the fact that like we've both been, or we've all been like through hardships, um, like a lot more hardships than the average person. Um, but like even that is a stretch because the people I meet have usually have it worse than I did. Um, I know somebody who was homeless at one point. I know somebody who doesn't want to go back home because he lives on a farm and it's mentally exhausting being around his parents. And I don't know if, I don't know, I have this mentality that like I really can't know anything. Like just like Socrates said. Um, because I really don't know if how I am now, like my identity, my like dissatisfaction with a lot of things. What if that's just a trauma response? Like I hear about how dissociative identity disorder is associated with like it's mixed in with the queer groups, and that is like I don't know if that's considered a mental illness. Even if it isn't, like we know it generally stems from a lot of trauma early on, unstable households, um, maybe maybe like a rough social, I don't know. Um, and so I know it's like the human body wants to like get all that severe trauma out so it masks the person, so they like mask themselves in the form of a new identity, I guess. I don't know. um I met one person with it like 3 4 years ago, and probably saw them twice. Not really, didn't really talk to them, but I don't know what else. It's like I've tried having those close, like few but close friends, and like I'm not like the last time I was ever somebody's like first person, somebody's go to, somebody's best friend was 3 years ago, probably two 2 years ago, maybe. Um, 11th grade, I would say. Um, yeah. Um, and that's not really the case anymore. I'm never anybody's first option because I don't probably have enough in common with them. There are people like there there are people that bond like early on because of I don't know, similar personality types, similar interests. Um, like many guys will bond over sports. But then they'll like gravitate towards a specific one and then make that their whole personality. I noticed. Um, I know it's not as common, but girls can be guilty of it too. Um, and I don't know. It's just like again, it all just goes back into the fact that like I have a little bit of everything. Like I'm into like I have the same passion for um baseball that like a guy on his high school team would have, but also I'm not very good at it, and there's other things, but like there's not, I don't know if philosophy is an interest for like the supposed outcasts, but like they don't really, maybe it's because I don't know many people who study it. They don't really have their own like they're not like a clique because they don't develop, most people don't realize they're passionate about it until college, um which I'm guessing is usually when they first get the chance to immerse themselves with that. I know that's what I did. um and I really like it. I like the balance of I like the questioning, the critical thinking aspect of it, but I also like the way it applies to like pretty much everything. Like it at times it'll study politics, culture, um, very, but it definitely overlaps with sociology. But you can also think about like the philosophy of math and science, for example. Like that is generally considered a lot more concrete, but also considered to be harder than other subjects. Um, but also the idea that like the system of math and science, if we as we know it, was made up for us to better understand the world. And I don't know, it's then there's like this I briefly mentioned that like this rebellious part of me that like doesn't want to conform, doesn't want to be a part of the society I'm seeing that a lot of people like are actively participating in. Like um I don't want your typical job. Um because I don't partially because I don't like the idea of working for um working for a big business, you know, somebody else getting rich off of me, of my work, um, and in return, I get what? Not enough money to survive. Um, Not to mention the fact that like I could never come out to any employers for fear of potentially getting rejected, for fear of them finding a way to pay me less. I don't know. Um, there's a lot of things going on, and like there are times when I wonder, like, is all of this like inherently a mental disorder, or is the idea of like being neurodivergent like not as disabling, I guess, as people say it is? Um, this of course going to depend on the person because it's a spectrum, but I don't know. It's like, and then there are those people who who invest a lot of time into religion. Um, you can find, you know, YouTube channels centered around like Christianity, the idea of becoming a better Christian. That's like something I'm more familiar with as I'm using it as an example. You can probably find other stuff, but there's also just the fact that I don't I think religion can be harmful and often is. I think that the way this society is run is not good. I don't want them, again, I don't want people who either oppress me or oppress other people to gain from my hard work. Like the people who had everything handed to them, they're never gonna know what this stuff is like. They were probably on a different path socially. Uh, and I'll probably make, I want to make, I will say, I don't know what my, knowing me, I don't know, like, when the next time I want to upload is, but also, I would like to make more content based on, well, not only variety, but also more commentary on I'm not going to be like a politics channel. That's not like my thing. It's more like a um or I guess the closest I'll get to like stuff like that is maybe some political theories or philosophy of politics, I guess. I don't know. Um I'm not gonna be like one of those channels where there's actively following like and updating people with the latest political news. There are tons of people who do that. So um I'm not gonna do that. And and part of me wonders like what even am I here to do? Like I don't want to work a traditional job, if not any job. It I want to I want to make an impact, but I don't know if I can. Um because even though I was like born into enough privilege to where I probably could, um, I'm sure it's nice um being a white man in, a white Christian man in a society that like benefits them. And I was all of those at one point, but I've chosen to, I guess, reject my privilege. And I don't know where it's led me, um, especially socially. Um, because as much as I love my family, I could never like I know I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for the idea of not wanting to work, not wanting to support all the bad people in the world. Because those people seem to run things. Um, and I don't know how I feel about even, still being in college. The idea that like I could have been fooled into thinking that this was a good idea. And I really don't know. Um, there's that aspect, but there's also like the fact that colleges are businesses, and also like schools in general run more. I don't know. The underlying theme is like they often prioritize. Like, they don't seem to teach you any useful information, or like too much of it. Like some of it will be, but I really don't use um I really don't use like a lot of the knowledge I learned in school in my life, and even if I do, it's because I actively choose it. It's not like it's naturally around me. And the idea that we're not being taught the most useful information, but what we are being taught is like to obey people and to take something in and repeat it back to them. And I don't like that. I don't think it's the fault of really anybody right now. I think it's, or well, like that specific thing. I'm not saying that there aren't bad people, but also, um, I also think that like since the education system is so old, like there's not really anybody we can blame for making it the way it is. Or well, we can blame people for making it worse, but because you can definitely argue that, but it could have been a lot different because I see the differences between other countries, and I'm wondering, it's like I I don't I'm constantly being told that like we have the best education system, but I don't believe it. If you if you were told this too, I wouldn't be surprised if you're like laughing at that fact right now because it just doesn't feel true. The idea that like you're spending all this time most likely bored, um, learning things that probably won't help you, um, expected to memorize and repeat back stuff, and with the with with some exceptions, of course, there isn't a lot of thinking involved. There's a lot, or well, there's some, but like you can never question the people and the systems that brought you there. You can't um you can hardly question like when is this going to be useful, or why are we even doing this, or why are um why is the entire country not giving people a choice that like they have to be educated. And like I know education has been a privilege for it was a privilege in a lot of other societies, and I'm like grateful that a lot of people that like pretty much everybody can experience it now, but also definitely not everybody can experience higher education. And even then it's like they act more like businesses than like actual schools. At least from what I've seen. And I don't know, it's like all of these things that like I say to people, like I don't, or like I could say to people and like they wouldn't take that well. because they're probably doing what they were taught to do, which is to defend the system that they are living in or not question it. The amount of times I bring something up and I ask somebody, have you ever thought of this? Have you ever questioned this? They always say no, because that's just not something they do generally. Um, and so it becomes harder to fit in. And like, I know I probably, I don't need to fit in, but like, even just like making friends has always been hard. But it's hard now that I'm like distancing myself further from society. And I really don't want to, I really hope this doesn't lead me to like judging all the people who, choose to stay naive and ignorant because like, there's a clear desire for that, like, honestly, because it's a lot easier to not know something, not like, deny something that's probably true um that you might think is true, but like you don't want it to be true. And you're probably gonna be happier if you do that, honestly. But it's all gonna depend on what you value. I don't necessarily I don't necessarily value the truth. Um, Although like starting to get more into that now, but also like I haven't always been one of those people like I have to know this. I have to ask why. I know some people who are like that and I can totally see it. And I feel terrible that like a lot of those people have been silenced. But also, um, the way I see it is like I have a lot of this awareness and by continuing to become more aware, I can hopefully, you know, share things with people that like they may not have thought about before, or they may already have thought about before, and maybe they like, I don't know, a lot of people will consume stuff online like that they already believe. Um, I can't really control how people find these videos. Um, that I don't want to anyway. Um, but it's just like gotten so hard to find people who are also like this. And I'm definitely gonna see if I can keep going with this because I, part of me doesn't think I need friends. Part of me really wants it. Um, Another part of me wants a relationship really badly. I've never been in one. I might talk about the idea that like, I've wanted it but never been in it. Um, and that's another like way it ties into like the theme of this video, like the social stuff, the idea that like you don't see as much. You may see this online, but I'm not like super on social media, but also Like some people make their partners their whole personality. Again, I don't see that too much, but or like maybe somebody's partner will join a friend group, or um maybe somebody ends up dating their friend, and that's a big thing that, like, I've had to deal with, but also I've never had to deal with at the same time. Like I've had to deal with other people doing it, but um I've never like been in a relationship before. um I don't know if that'll be a video of its own, but like I also am kind of confused where it's like everybody who wants one is in one, a relationship already. Everybody who doesn't want it, they're content not being in one. They don't have to be in one if they don't want to. But then there's those people who like don't think they want to be in one, but then somebody comes around and all of a sudden they change their mind, or they they just get lucky. They find somebody when they didn't think that they needed them. Maybe they never did, but because that's what happened to my sister. Like she was always like, I'm too young to date, and I'm not gonna do it till college. Maybe I don't know what exactly she said, but then she gets into a relationship at 15, and it's been close to a year and a half. Yeah, um, close to a year and a half now, and they're still together. And of course, I want them to still be together because I like the guy, but um, I guess my whole point is like relationships factor into this as well. Whether you want one, are in one, or don't want one, they affect a lot of people, and that can honestly determine somebody's social group. Um, Somebody may end up joining their partner's friend group when they hadn't had one of their own. Um, or like it gets really interesting when people in the same friend group start dating. Um, so I don't know. This just is a lot of my personal experiences with being very different from people, not really fitting in anywhere. Still don't, at this point, I don't know if I ever will, but even if I don't, is that something I really need? Like, is that going to do a lot for me? Other than maybe some validation here and there. Um, but and I don't know, there's one side where it's like, people naturally need social interaction. Yeah, that's true. But also, how many of people are gonna be want to be friends with me? They're gonna think that like I'm too negative, especially with the idea that like I don't like a lot of the institutions we have in society. I don't like um I had a bad experience with Christianity. I don't really want to find a job, so people are gonna be seeing me as lazy. For the record, I don't think people who don't have one are lazy. I think there are definitely some people who are, but somewhere out there there has to be people more like me who are just morally against this idea of like spending all this like wasting my life away for someone else's benefit. Um Someone else who I don't even think is a good person. Um and also the fact that like having I don't think having kids is right either. I mean biologically, of course. But because of a lot of things going on, because of like how a lot of things are, but also I get surprised with the idea that like a lot of people see that as absurd. Um in my mind it's just a lot of like I don't want people in the future to suffer, and I don't see a way if they are alive in which they don't, therefore it's best to not bring them into existence at all. Because even though there's always a chance that like somebody is born and then becomes a really influential figure in a good way, or somebody, is alive and they actually appreciate their life. That is definitely possible. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Um, but it's nowhere near a guarantee. Like I would argue it's mostly um mostly bad. Um just the idea that like you have to be born in a specific area of the world, in a specific um in a specific body, um if you want to get far here. And I want to change that. Um Again, I don't know if I can, but I think it's worth trying. I'd rather try and fail than like actively support the people who are putting down others for their own benefit. And I don't think the idea of working necessarily is bad, because of course we're gonna need people to like make and grow food, or also make and go grow food and like build things and create things, and that creativity and that diversity of jobs is amazing. I guess my problem is like, so I guess my point is with this whole video is like I'm different from a lot of people, never really been able to fit in, but I don't know if that's a bad thing, honestly. Um and I hope that there are people out there who can like relate to this, and even if they can't, they may be able to see another person's perspective. Um and learn a new way of thinking, I guess. So I know I talked about a lot of different things, um, and I don't know if I'm gonna continue doing like this style of like unscripted, um, just talk about whatever topic I feel like at the moment. Um, Of course, if I did another video on music, for example, that's gonna be more. It's gonna be more scripted. It's gonna be more edited. Um, but for those of you who um, let me know if you like the idea of somebody just talking about their thoughts, their experiences. Like even though I'm young, I feel like I have a lot to say. Uh, and I'm not expecting everybody to like agree with me. Um, but then again, a lot of these beliefs aren't set in stone because again, I'm still young. So of course, if I find evidence against something, I might just change my mind. Um, and yeah, so I'll probably leave it there. Um, I think I hope you got something out of this. If anything, if this was worth your time, I really appreciate it if you um would continue checking more of my stuff out, but also I really appreciate that you stayed this far. So thank you.